What's up, guys? Welcome to Elevate Elite, the Basecamp Podcast. My name is Donovan, and today I'm going to be talking with Mr. Justin Christianson. And we're going to be talking a lot about family and parental stuff and how to be a dad and become a business owner that is successful and still maintain that frame as a dad and all things fun today. So, Mr. Justin, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So I'd love to get into just your story. We haven't really talked a ton, obviously, in person or at all, really. Mostly online, just messaging back and forth, and just kind of created I feel like a pretty good relationship over the course of the last couple of years. And
Mhm.
I've kind of asked you quite a bit about your personal life and your children and your rental history and how you feel about Section 8 versus standard and all these other
Yeah,
things. So I'm excited to finally actually like have a conversation with you today. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. I know we kind of were getting into it, but let's just kind of recap again
yeah.
for the
So,
listeners.
I mean, I've been in business. I'm older than I look. I've been in business. I guess my entrepreneurial journey. I mean, started obviously when I was a kid, but for serious business stuff, 25 years now. I've been in kind of the digital marketing landscape. Really found personal development early on in my early 20s. Kind of came up the ranks through multi-level marketing and kind of dabbled my feet in that craziness that comes with that. Figured out I wasn't good at bumping into people and asking them if they wanted to make extra money. Found online lead generation, fell in love with it, the psychology of what makes people do what they want to do. Had a large information publishing company that I was partners on. We grew that to 8 figures in revenue in just a couple years. They were already doing about a half a million a year when I came in, and we grew it to like 4 million the next year, and we grew it to 10 million the next year. And I ultimately left that company, sold it back to my partners, fumbled my way through different entrepreneurial journeys, a couple failed startups, and failed SaaS company, and then started my marketing agency in 2014 with a longtime friend of mine, and we grew that. And ultimately, a few years ago, sold it to private equity and a larger agency. So I got my big exit. Um, since then, opened a few franchises. Learned definitely what not to do during that journey, and all along the way. Um, I guess we dabbled on it a little bit, but I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I've been sober 13 years. Really found health and wellness during that journey. Um, we've had some health aspects in there too that kind of try to derail us. And since then, I've lost 90 pounds, maintained it. Am involved. Obviously, I've been married for 20 years now, a little over 20 years, 20 and a half years now, I guess. Um, Two amazing kids that are now teenagers, and just keep pushing on every single day to just try to be a little bit better than I was yesterday, and see what kind of legacy I can leave on this planet.
I love that so much, man. The one thing that really stood out to me, I think, when we first started having a conversation on Facebook, when I first reached out, was you have a six pack and you're like 50 years old, right?
I'm 45, but
45. Okay,
yeah, 45, but yeah, I've got a full six pack. I'm
it's
sitting right
crazy.
now 10% body fat, so I'm I'm there. That's why I say I'm older than I look, because I literally have a metabolic age of, I think, 32 or 33.
Wow.
Um, and I've just been able to maintain it since my son, who just turned 13, was born. So I literally look at pictures when I'm holding him when he was born, and he literally looks at pictures now and he's like, "Who's that?"
Wow. Yeah, he's like,
I
that's a
was
complete different
round.
human.
I was round, and just looking back and just kind of where I was at a place in life, and my priorities definitely weren't um, in line with what they probably should be. Um,
Hmm.
I definitely found it. I grew up in a very rural, very small town, and all we did was drink from basically the time we were 14. I toured the rodeo circuit in my early teens, or my teens into my early 20s. Then I got into music, and I was toured in a band. So, and then I got into business. So everything's done at the hotel bar and everything. So all of that just carried over through the end. So my priorities were definitely there. When business it isn't always roses and butterflies. It isn't what everybody paints it to be on the social media. And business took a downturn, and I turned to drinking more, and I got even more unhealthy. And just as soon as I tried to figure out what my priorities were, and I decided to make that shift, that's when things really became where the growth really happened for me. Um, I found a direct correlation in taking care of myself personally and physically, mentally and physically, in the correlation with what I've had in business success. So if I'm having a shitty month, I'm having, these downturns, I'm having just rough time. It's like, oh crap, I haven't been to the gym in 3 days, or I haven't,
Mm.
which very rarely happens for me. I have to be traveling pretty extensively to not have access to a gym, but um, I noticed be like, oh, my diet slipped or, something just is off with that. And then as soon as I get back on track, that's when things, the mental clarity starts coming and those changes happen.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about your skill, which is CRO,
Mhm.
being able to optimize for just being consistent really throughout everything, right? Like health, wealth, finance, family, your legacy, being able to see things from a 10,000 foot level and also bring it back down to be able to like be present.
Mhm.
How do you optimize that, I guess? Where did it all start? Did you start with getting sober and then health, started in the gym and then lost the weight and then got successful in business? Or like how did that all transpire?
So I had had some success in business before I quit drinking. That's when I had the information publishing company. So found some success there. Um, Obviously making the big money, for lack of better terms, I guess I was a millionaire on paper by 28. Um, since I've lost it a couple times and gained it back and done the whole roller coaster of it. But I started when I quit drinking. I just hit a wall one day. I got in an argument with my wife, and I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm done. And that was the last day. It was April 22nd, 2000. I guess what is the math? I can't even know on that right now. But 2013, yeah, 13.
13.
Yeah. So my son was a baby at the time, and I just said enough's enough. Decided to go on do a juice cleanse one day, just on a whim. Said I'll just do a 3 day juice cleanse, and then I just said, what happens if I just keep going?
Hmm.
And I did, and I just kept going. I changed up, hit the workouts, started optimizing that, and really, I'm just a person that I want to. I'm a firm believer in the principles of Kaizen. So if you're not familiar with that, that's a Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement. So
Hmm.
it's, you hear gurus shout it, 1% every day. Um, I personally live it. That was a motto of growing all, the previous company that we sold as well. But you don't have to be perfect. I think of it as progress over perfection. Um, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to have weeks that you wish didn't happen, and then you're going to be like, okay, this isn't so bad, and you're going to have those things, and that goes in every area of life. I mean, it's
100%. Yeah.
it's marriage, that's parenting, that's your physical fitness, that's your mental fitness, obviously business, relationships with friends, and literally everything that you do can be optimized and tweaked. But people, and I think social media has ruined this a lot for people, is we just see the end result,
Mm.
and they don't see the tears and the frustration and the grind that has to go into some of these things. And I'm not just talking business either. It's like the last thing I wanted to do this morning was go to the gym, but I did. It wasn't the prettiest workout because this morning I just wasn't feeling it, but I did it, and I've never regretted one. And it's always just that one little step forward in that day, or that's 2 steps forward, or that's 3 steps, and you might take a step back the next day or whatever. But as long as you keep going, it's cliche, but it is. The only reason why you'll fail is if you quit. And
Yep.
I use the analogy of the you see the pickaxe, thing, the image that floats around forever, where they're this close to the gold, and then the other guy's turning back in frustration. But whatever that gold is for you, and it's different from some other people. I mean, I know personally you have some really tremendously huge goals for the next few years, and that might not be the same for some. They just can't
Hmm.
envision a high 9 figure or 10 figure exit. People just can't fathom that. um, I just speaking from business and kind of financial perspective, I remember growing up thinking, oh man, if I just make 6 figures, I'm gonna be crushing it.
Hmm.
20 years old, I was making like 60 grand a year, and I thought I was balling. And
Yeah.
then I started meeting people that were making 60 grand a day. And I'm like, what? Like, how the heck? And then I started to experience some of it, um, and see what can be possible. Now it's like people are like, man, if I can only make 10 grand a month, I'm like, Jesus, I'm only making 10 grand a month. At certain situations and timelines, that's a big thing. Um,
I think it's funny you mentioned not wanting to go to the gym because I was talking to my wife the other day and I was like, God, I'm just not feeling it today. It's like leg day, and I
Mhm.
was like, I'm just not feeling it today. And she's like, just today? And I was like, no, every day. But
Yeah.
like, I still have to go because like once I do, then I'm like, it wasn't that bad. I feel great now. Obviously, I have
Yeah.
more energy now. I have like more clarity of thought now. And you kind of shake off that feeling of not wanting to do it once you do it. And then you're like, you kind of keep that same mental frame for the rest of the day where it's
Yeah.
like maybe business, something comes up and you're like, God, I don't want to deal with this right now. And you still go and deal with it. It creates that frame.
Yeah. And it's not giving up on yourself, with
Hmm.
that in, and it's easy. We're recording this in January where everybody and their brother are going to the gym now. You go, I mean, there's videos popping up everywhere of Planet Fitness, and the treadmills are just lined with people that haven't seen a gym since last January.
Right.
Um, and quickly people just kind of fall off of that and make it not about their routine. And the gym and my physical fitness and stuff is just what I do now. Like
Yeah.
it's my lifestyle. It's not, oh, I have to go to the gym, or oh, hey, I have to diet, I have to food prep, I have to do that. I
Yep.
just have it so dialed in. I know exactly what I can eat and what I can't and how it's going to make me feel and do all these things just because I've done it for so long. Um,
Yep.
but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like
I
you said,
definitely I had to go and reverse engineer it for myself. I had to go and like look at like what was the pinnacle of success for most people when they reached that like peak of whatever it is they could achieve, whether it was finance or health or family or whatever. And it was like, what does a good father look like? What does a healthy person look like? How do they live their life? What is it that they do? And they did the same things, like they all had similar routines to some degree. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast was because a lot of us have those similar routines where it's like we have to work out. It's not really like we want to work out or we have the time to do so. It's like you have to get yourself there to get your day going. Like that is
yeah,
part one of the book you got to read. You got to read the first chapter. You
yeah.
can't skip to chapter 5.
And I start my day at the gym. So
Yep.
it's like I wake up at 5:30 and I drag my butt out of bed and I go to the gym, and
Every day. Yeah.
and it is. And you go back to the parenting side of things too. It's, I in a lot of people's eyes, I guess I've had that success, whatever that may be. A lot of days I don't feel like a success, but it's just my own mental blocks that I have. It's like
Of course.
I joke and I say I feel like the brokest multimillionaire on the planet, but it's
Well, especially when you have that perspective, it's always like you have enough for most people's perspective, but then you look around those people that you were talking about that you hang around, and it's like that's their starting point. So you don't feel as successful because you're trying to obtain more of what that Kaizen method is.
yeah, and more so you're obtaining that feeling. Like
Mm,
that to me was a big one, and something a lot of people don't talk about. I sold my company to everybody on the planet that would be like, you did it.
yeah.
You did it. You reached what all entrepreneurs look for. They hit that big moment. It is so anticlimactic. And then it's like, oh shit, now what?
Yep.
Because you lived that, breathed it, slept it, sweat, tears, blood, everything for so long. For me, it was a decade of just that one business, preaching the same exact things, working with the same people, doing the same exact things, and just grinding. And then it's done.
Yep.
So it's like, now what? It's like, okay. I mean, and when I say it's anticlimactic, it's anticlimactic. It's
Yep.
attorneys exchange a couple emails and be like, all right, thumbs up, go. All right, wire sent. Congrats,
Done.
everybody. That's it. Like, it's no
That's it.
party, it's no confetti, it's nothing. It's just like wire sent. And
Yep.
then you refresh your page and you're like, okay, I guess we did that. And then, it's on to the next chapter. But,
I
um,
love that we're talking about this on episode 3 because episode 1 I talked with Kyrie Oliver about
yep,
exactly that, where
he
it's
lives
like
right down the street from me.
does he? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's a big teddy bear. I love that dude, man. He's
Yeah.
one of my best friends
He's been to
now.
my house before,
That's
um,
awesome.
but yeah, he lives probably, I guess, 4 or 5 miles from me.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that now.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was having my very first episode conversation with him, and we were talking about identity impact and shockers that develop, whether it's divorce or loss of a life, or like you mentioned, like a health crisis of some sort. A lot of those things become a lot more impactful and more to the like prefrontal cortex as far as like what is important priority wise now, even if you have $100 million in your bank account.
Yeah.
Like it's just money at the end of the day, but then you have to actually figure out what to do with it. And that's why I love legacy coaching, because like working with guys like yourself and people that are just like kind of, I don't want to say you're lost, but guys that are lost, they don't really know like what is the next thing to do because they have such an impact on their identity.
Yep.
Kyrie was a D1 athlete and then all of a sudden gets injured and just can't be an athlete anymore. That's a huge identity impact. You were this thing for your entire life, your childhood, and you like did it at such an extreme level that you're getting drafted into a college D1 like kind of position, and now you can't do it. Like that's a huge impact,
Yeah.
and it's hard for people to handle that. What would you say were like kind of some of the first steps that you took after you got that wire, and now you're like, now what?
Um, I'd honestly be lying to you if I said I had it figured out 3 years
Hmm.
later. I think I finally come to reflection of it. It's taken me a minute. It honestly has. I went kind of a depression. Some days I still battle with it. It's just the ongoing thing that, unfortunately many men experience that,
Yeah,
don't really have any outlet to really express it. But and like I said, I'm not perfect. I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, I've done all of those things, but I dabbled in a lot of different things, during that journey. I tried to start a couple different things in the process, thought I was going to go heavier into real estate, decided that wasn't the thing. I opened 3 franchises this year. I'm actually in the process of closing one of them already, um, just because it wasn't right, and it's a big financial kick in the teeth, but um, it's a lesson learned, and it's something that I didn't, and I found passion in my other in my other concepts that we started. In the other 2 location, one's one concept and we have 2 locations, and the other one, that one's kind of my um, black sheep, if you will. And I just couldn't get it off the ground, no matter how good I am at marketing. I just couldn't get it to produce the numbers that I needed it to do, even in such a short time. But the other one, I found passion in it. I can drive it from a marketing perspective and found some purpose in it, a little more so than just, hey, it's a business. Um,
you don't mind me asking a little bit more personally, like how do you reflect on some of those like identity impacts where it's like, you just mentioned you weren't as good at marketing for that company. It wasn't about how good you were at marketing. You just couldn't get that company to produce. How did like I know that has to take an impact on your identity to some degree, especially when it is your identity to be a CRO, right?
yeah,
You're optimizing for conversion and it's just not.
yeah. I mean, that one's been kind of hard. It's still pretty fresh because obviously, literally, the last day of business for that company is tomorrow.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so the doors will be locked tomorrow. I've been dealing with trying to unravel what I've built, kind of started a year and a half ago, um, which is a lot. It's leases. They're brick and mortar, so it's leases, it's
Hmm.
loans, it's staffing, it's inventory, it's production, it's all of those things. Um, so I'm kind of it's going to take me probably 6 months to unravel it all, and it is what it is. But it was hard because failure to somebody that's seen success is hard. It's just you were at the top, and then now it's like, oh crap, that didn't work. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm smart enough to know that I just need to cut my losses, or I could keep investing money into it and keep investing a whole bunch of time and effort and energy. Whereas it was putting strain on my family, it was putting a strain on, other aspects, putting a strain on my other concept, putting a strain on just everything in life. Where it's like my wife looked at me one day and it's like, why are we working so hard?
Mm,
And that kind of was like, damn, why are we? and
yeah.
um And like today, we've got some staff out, so she's got to go work at one of our other concepts, which it's fun. It's kind of rewarding, but this other one was just a grind. I was constantly
Yeah.
on. I was working 50 hours a week trying to maintain it and get it, to push it up. And I just needed to cut my losses and just be done
Yeah.
with it. No matter what the financial burden is, which in this case, it's going to be, I don't know, just shy of $500,000 probably, which sucks, obviously. But I should be able to get around some of that, and be able to offset some of it. And then making money is not the problem.
Yeah.
I can go make money. Um, but yeah, that identity thing, I've kind of gotten over it. And how I've gotten over it is really I've taken on a couple consulting kind of contract positions where I've helped some companies. Right now, I'm working with a very large SaaS company, 1,500 employees, and I'm kind of acting as their interim director of site growth. Um, and I'm working with another a large SaaS agency company just to really formalize some of their systems and processes and just take what I've learned over a decade of running the company, the agency, and just applying it to a different space, in that realm. So it allows me to still flex my marketing muscles and stay sharp on that, which then I can translate over to my other, concepts and business side of things.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kyrie and I, we talked a lot about it. Like character is one of those things that you have to kind of fall back on when identity doesn't work out,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like your character isn't changed because you lost your child. That is a tough thing to lose, but your identity has shifted quite a bit. But your
Mm-hmm.
character is that you're a person that still moves forward. You're a person that still gives back. You still can provide to your community. You are a person that is valuable. You kind
Yeah.
of have to like reflect on some of those things where it's like this isn't the end of the world, even though it feels like it. Like that is a super heavy thing to deal with. And I've had some friends, unfortunately, in that situation. Um, those identity shifts are tough to deal with on a life basis. Business, that's why I was saying is like you kind of joked a little bit in the beginning, where like business isn't that hard if you're around the right people, if you're in a community of people that you can kind of lean on in those tough situations. But business itself is one of the most hardest things that you can ever do.
Oh yeah. It's not for the faint of heart by any
No.
means.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you mentioned the character aspect too. And that's one thing that I truly care about probably the most is who am I true to my core? Like,
Yeah.
am I somebody that can be relied on? Am I somebody that's true to my word? Am I somebody, those kinds of things, nobody can take that away from you. And I've always been very, very giving with my time and my energy and I mean, you listen to some of the self-help gurus say, you got to protect your time and everything's under behind a paywall and all of these things. It's like, no, it's like I've always been free to share my knowledge or my expertise or my lessons learned with somebody because you never know where somebody's at in their journey.
Exactly.
And hell, I seek guidance from people above me all the time.
Hmm.
Even during, this whole closing of one of the concepts, I reached out to a ton of people, be like, you guys know this stuff. Like, what the hell am I missing? Like, just I need some guidance here. And all what kind of sealed it was everybody was like, yeah, you're doing everything you can.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay. So,
Yeah. The interesting thing too is like, you have the conversations with some of these people that have amassed tons of money, they've amassed success and health or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people, they end up finding that those pinnacles or pillars of success end up being rooted in like family and community and giving back and being open with your time and
mhm.
exploring things that you may not have explored before. And it's interesting because people only want to take advice from people above them. But
Mhm.
oftentimes, the happiest people are the ones that don't have very much at all. And they focus a
Yeah.
lot of their time on family and community and giving back. And that's why I don't have anything.
Yeah. And that's cool that you say that because there's the older I get and the more I do this, the less of that stuff is important.
Hmm.
Like it's weird. I mean, I live in a big, nice house. We have the nice vehicles. My son's like, why don't we have a Ferrari? Why don't you have a Porsche? Why don't you have all this stuff? It's like, why? Like it'll be fun for a day. And then you're done. It's like, I don't need another Rolex. I don't need, another thing. I wear, you know, old Navy shorts and yes, I do have those few nice watches and I do have those kinds of things, but and my wife has the Louis Vuittons and like all of those things, but it's like, meh, what does it really matter at the end of the day? Could I
Yeah.
have a bigger house? Yes, but then I look, it's like crap, I've got a $4,000 maintenance thing that I had to deal with yesterday. It's like if I
Yep.
had a bigger house, that could be a $40,000 bill instead. It's bigger and more headache and more problems. So I'm just like, we don't need it. It's not going to make me happier. It's not going to, I don't need to keep up with the Joneses. I don't need to, I live across the street from an NFL player. It's like I have all of these things in my surroundings, but yet down the street there's the 8,000 square foot mansion, and it's just like it's stupid. And
Well, not really stupid, but also in the sense of like it's not going to like help you feel less depressed. You're still going to be sitting in the same shower,
yeah,
sulking about the same thing that you would have if it wasn't the big house, right? Like,
yeah. So going back to the family piece too is I made it a big point to even when I was building this, like I always wanted to be there for the kids. Um, so to me, it's more about the experiences and the things
mm,
that we can do with them because I was just reflecting on this the other day. I've literally got 3 and 5 years left with my kids in the house.
wow,
That isn't a very long time.
no,
They were just babies. It's weird and weird to think about. And I would rather have those experiences and those journeys than and know that I was there for dinner time when they were little, that I was there to give them a bath and put them to bed, and I was there at the school play. I was there at those kinds of things, the band concerts, the choir concerts, those kinds of things, which I have been. Um, and I found kind of an outlet too. Is my son is very big into American Ninja Warrior, so it's
yep,
obstacle course racing stuff, and we travel all over the country. In a couple weeks, we're going to Utah, and we travel all over the country so we can do it. Um, I'm part owner of a Ninja Warrior gym too, in Tempe, here in Phoenix area. But just because I wanted that kind of experience and things, and have him kind of live out his passions and goals, and be able to give that to him, and just know that my kids know that I was there, and
yep.
that to me is bigger than really anything.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I'm sure
whether
being next to Kyrie, he told you about the guy that didn't show up to any of his kids' baseball games, and they were collegiate players, didn't show up to a single game.
yeah,
Yeah, man. And so I think that was another thing that really stood out to me in the conversation that I wanted to have with you was family life and being a parent and being there and being present and also still being able to like hit that, pinnacle of success financially that
yeah,
everybody aspires for. You stood out to me as like a very present father. Like I saw your son online with American Ninja Warrior stuff, and I've even mentioned, like asked you actually, what all that entails and getting into a gym here in Denver and stuff like that. My daughter did Kid Strong,
yeah,
so she was in like the baby American Ninja Warrior version of American Ninja Warrior.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. Nobody is.
Right.
Um, I wouldn't even pretend to say I am. Um, but I'm there. And
Hmm.
there's days where I'm not necessarily there, but I'm there. Um,
Yeah.
and I more so wanted so my kids know that I'm approachable and I have their back, on those situations. And I want them to be successful and I want them to succeed, in whatever it is they choose in life. And I'm getting to that point in life where they're going to have to start making some of those decisions, and just trying to be a guide and kind of pass on my lessons learned. But yeah, I've tried really hard to be present. Um, and, it hasn't always been perfect, through that journey either. There's been the times where I've had to take the week off to go to a business trip, and I was away for times. And there's certain aspects in there that, were hard and I had to grind. There was the late nights and there was the nights where, it's that put them to bed and then I'm back on the computer because I have, you got bills to pay and you got payroll to make and you've got all of those things. Um, and trying not to bring that stress and element into the house, when I tried to leave it at the door.
Yep.
Um, it didn't always happen. It's very hard to do that. But there are times where I obviously brought it in, and there's times where it's like, crap, I'm on my phone at the dinner table because, I got a message that was urgent and it was 911, and, we have to step away, have to do, whatever it is that I have to do. And, there's been the nights where it's, 2 a.m. and I'm back up at 5. But, it's some of the sacrifices that you have to make to get to whatever level that you're looking to achieve on that.
Well, I think you're going to sacrifice regardless if you even climb at all, right? Even at
Okay.
base camp, if you happen to be at base camp, and I like to joke around, or not really joke, but like more use um like a analogy that the false summit is kind of like that doctor, lawyer, career professional where they just, this is good enough, we have a good enough view, we can see the view, this is a great stopping point, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people don't even climb and they still have those sacrifices. They still are on their phone at dinner time, they're still not present, they're still, and so even if you are building a business, you still have the ability to kind of dial back a little bit and have that experience of being present and being like, oh damn, I am on my phone at the dinner table, as opposed to just being like completely dead brained and like not really self-aware at all and doing it all the time. I think being a business owner, it really puts you in that frame of mind of like being able to catch yourself,
Yeah.
and like you are your boss, right? So like you kind of have to like be the bad boss that is mean and not fun at all, while also being the shitbag employee that doesn't want to do work at all also.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
it's a
hard.
hard balance.
Yeah. When you wear the multiple hats, but,
Yeah.
even I remember, going back to the sacrifices that you make in different things. But I remember having conversation with my business partner and being like, we have 25 grand left in the bank. Like, that's it. Like,
Mhm.
and our payroll's 30. So it's like, what are we going to do? And we literally spent that last 20 or 25 to go sponsor an event
Yep.
and be like, if we don't walk out of here with 10 clients, we're going to have to block the doors. And I was swiping credit cards in the elevator. I was, we were hustling, and we walked out of there with 11 clients, and just had to make that, but people don't see that hustle or that aspect of it, the year where we didn't get paid, but everybody else did. And
Yeah, I think it was like the FedEx or UPS guy. He gambled like the company's
FedEx, yeah.
last $1,500 or
Yeah,
5 grand or
I think it
something.
was 5 grand, and you turned it into like 27 or something to pay fuel costs or something like that.
Yeah, and the employees were actually on board. That was the other thing that was like remarkable about that story was he actually like reached out to the people that worked for him and he was like, "Hey guys, like this is what we got.
Yeah. His business partner
we,
wasn't
we're
happy.
running it."
But yeah, I mean, there are times, and there was, and then COVID hit, during the
Mhm.
whole peak of that, and we lost half our clients,
Wow.
in weeks. It's
Yeah.
just like they didn't know, and then we ultimately grew 120% that year,
Wow.
but went from, oh crap, like, okay, we have a few hundred grand in the bank, we can carry it, or we can lock the doors, or we just push through this, and all of a sudden it just hockey sticked and just took off. And
It's that miner digging with the pickaxe again, man.
yeah, it was just having to, pivot a little bit, hustle and grind it out, and we
And
did.
that's what I don't think people see often with like being a parent or a spouse is like it's always backburnered. It's always like you don't you're digging for the gold and then you get the gold and then you're happy about the gold and then you look back at your wife and then she's pissed at you, and she's like we could have like just stacked the gold we had
Mhm.
and had an easier life, right? The easier, but as men, like we're trying to obtain that bigger house, the fancier car, the better Porsche, the brand new Porsche, the
Yeah,
Ferrari, the next best thing, and it never ends. Like you show up at your yacht in Monaco, and all of a sudden Jeff Bezos pulls up, and you're not matching that.
yeah. And that's the hard part, is it goes back to that identity thing. And I work as if they're going to take it away from me.
Mm,
To me, that's what I stress about more than literally anything. It's like, okay, I've reached this. How do I keep it? I don't need to be worth $1 billion. I don't need to be worth, hell, I don't even need to be worth 30 million. It's
yeah,
not the case.
sustainability.
It's are we good? Are things growing? Are we making smart choices with that money? Are we protecting it? Are we doing those things? And there's been times where it's like, we see a big slide in, say, the stock market, which I'm pretty heavily invested in. It's like, oh crap, a big chunk of that went away. And but it's like you got to trust the process and take the emotion out of it and do those things, to see the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, and just remember things go up and down. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's in all aspects of life. It's not just, um, yeah, it's not just the,
Where does that come from? Because a lot of people, they don't climb at all. They enjoy base camp because of the community and the warmth and the comfort of the fire and all that other stuff. A lot of people don't climb at all because they're worried about slipping. They
right.
stack all this money into the market. They get real estate. I know you and I, we've talked about
Mhm.
some real estate struggles here and there. And you think you're doing the right thing. You think that you're diversifying your portfolio. You think that you're putting together like fail safes and stop losses, and you're just unfortunately still slipping, but you're still climbing.
Yeah. Um, I mean, for me, that element is, and luckily I have an amazing fiduciary that manages my stuff, and he's like, dude, stop thinking day by day.
Mm,
Think big picture. Think Warren Buffett style. It's like he doesn't make an investment in a company thinking it's a bad investment. The
yeah,
technicals of that investment are still sound. The market just played it opposite, or it made it slip. Does it suck to see, in some cases, half a million or $1 million in your net worth go away in just like a month's time frame or whatever? But then you look at it, it's okay. We're just off our all-time highs. We're not down, and in most cases we're playing with house money. So it's like we've already seen that improvement, and we've already seen that. But then you got to look back and be like, I mean, for a point in time, even this last year, I was up like 40 something percent on my investments. I finished the year like 22%. So it's
mm,
like you look at it and be like, you look at what you lost in that kind of slide, but at the same time, you got to look at what you gained,
yeah,
in that journey. So I'm trying to focus. It's kind of the half glass full or glass half full, half empty type scenario. And if you just focus on that negative aspect, you're like, crap, I lost this, but you really didn't lose anything because I'm still up. Um,
exactly. Yeah, I remember I made a bet and it was like I was using house money, put $100 in to win like $1,000, and they missed it by like 2 points. And it
mhm.
was like, oh damn, like I was so close to winning, but then we still won the game. So like as a fan, I was like, well, I'm still actually happy because like we weren't supposed to win that game, and I actually was close. So I try to again like take that same perspective and like look through it through the half full lens, where it's like, well, we can always get it back. We can always make more money. We can always pivot. Like there's always ways to move about. And I look at it from like a boxing angle, where like I was in boxing, and you always have it, like Mike Tyson says, you always have a plan until you get punched in the face. Then he's got to keep going, man. You got to get punched in the face. That's boxing, baby. That's what you signed
Yeah.
up for.
And you will get punched in the face. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter if you're trying to climb or if you're at, like you say, base camp, you can still get kicked in the face there too.
Yeah. More often than not, actually.
You do. And I
You
mean,
know,
life just is not forgiving. It's just,
yeah.
and, and it's happened. I mean, obviously I was a lot more naive when I started my career than I am now, but everybody, and it's cliche too, but everybody is going through something that you have no idea.
Mm,
If you think about that from just being a human perspective, everybody's got their struggles at whatever level. It's the analogy of the person that's riding the bike sees the guy with the car and wants the car. The guy, it's that step up, but there's a lot of people that are just happy with their bike.
yeah. Well, that also you have to establish that identity or that character of like, are you okay with the bike? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be people with supercars, I promise you, and they're
Yeah.
going to have a lot of them. You have Andrew Tate, for example. I love talking about him because he is kind of like that gluttonous, materialistic, like
Oh, for sure.
supreme materialism. Like he lives in a friggin' penthouse with a dome, in the
Yep.
Pagani mansion, and he just bought another Pagani. So it's like I love some of the perspective that he shares, but also, is that going to be a life that you want to live where you fear that you have something worthy of taking now, right? You have a target on you to some degree. People want what you have. And if you have children, now you have something worth risking. And I think that's why a lot of men my age, where I'm 31 years old now, a lot of men my age don't want to have children. They don't want to get into a marriage because that is like kind of like leverage against them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you think about that in regards to like you were building a business, you exited successfully, but you also like were going through it obviously while being a father of a newborn child.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, but you always want to. I kind of use the thing that the dad is the only person that you wish, or is the only person that wishes that you will be more successful than he was. Um, so for me, I wanted to be able to set my kids up for strong life lessons that can carry them over. And the only vehicle that I felt I could do that with was business.
Mm,
I'm very fortunate though. My dad was very entrepreneurial um, growing up, so he instilled that very hard work ethic. You know, he did it the hard way, but he was very entrepreneurial. He had some successes through his career and is now, you know, retired early and was able, you know, is living comfortably. But to me, it was more, and I didn't know what level he was at necessarily. I just know I didn't want to grind like he was grinding.
mm,
Um, and I saw how hard he worked, and I worked alongside him for some of it. I was forced to, you know, that was just what we did growing up. But um, it was hard to surpass some of that. But yeah, I think it's the allowing the kids to have the vehicle and the tools to be more successful than I am, whatever that
yeah,
level of success it is. It doesn't need to be monetary. It doesn't need to be anything. It's just, and that's the hardest part of parenting, honestly. And I was having this conversation the other day is you don't know if you're doing a good job until it's done.
yep,
And it's probably the hardest part, especially reflecting on we only got 3 to 5 more years left with my kids in the house. Um, are we doing the right thing? Are you making the right decisions? Are you guiding them in the right thing? Am I instilling enough of my knowledge onto them, um, and helping them be as successful as they want to be? You know, my son's got big aspirations of, you know, the supercars and all of those things. And, you know, my daughter's the opposite. You know, she wants to go do the things and, you know, take pictures of it, you know, along the way. So it's,
of course.
where he's just like, man, this car is really cool, and I like this watch, and I like these shoes, and it's like he's much more materialistic than I am.
Hmm.
I don't know where he gets it honestly, but you know, kids are
The
kids.
internet.
Oh yeah, I mean, and kids
The
are kids.
perspective of that too is like, yeah, kids will be kids, but at the same time, like the internet teaches you that like $1 million a year is not a lot of money.
Yeah,
$500,000 a year is not a lot of money. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, that is 1% wealth. Six
yeah,
hundred eighty thousand dollars a year is literally 1% income annually.
yeah. You see those women getting interviewed, and it's like, well, how much money does your man have to be making? It's like, well, a minimum of $750,000 a year. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, what freaking planet are you living on?
Well, not only that, but can you even quantify that? Like, do you even know what that means? Do you know what that job title looks like? Do you know how to find it in a man if that is your margin of success? Like, what does that even look like? It doesn't even exist really. So how do you even know what it looks like?
No, they don't. I mean, it goes back to like, oh, I thought I was balling at 60 grand a year.
Yep.
You know,
And you can be. There's a lot of guys that are. There's a lot of
I know
guys,
plenty of people, and it's
yeah,
funny.
single dudes, 60 grand a year, have beamers, like living nice.
Yeah, just yeah. I mean, and it's to each their own too. It's really weird. Um, but I learned it's funny. Both my grandparents on my dad's side are not with us anymore, but I remember sitting down with my grandpa, and he's like, "I hope you become ridiculously successful and wealthy, and nobody knows about it." Like that was the level, and he died relatively wealthy. Um, but nobody would know it. Like he got a new vehicle every couple of years, pretty modest, lived in a decent house, bills were paid, you know, had conversations with my grandma too. It's just like she's like, people doubted us, you know,
Hmm.
every step of this way. And, you know, I miss having conversations with her, obviously, for a lot of reasons, but um, I'd sit down one on one with her and she's like, same thing. She would tell me the same thing. And she's like, well, we did this decision and everybody thought we were stupid. But meanwhile, we're paying off all of these banknotes and we're doing all these things and we're setting ourselves up. And this decision prompted this decision and paid for this decision. And, you know, and they just, you know, lived life, you know, for 30 years, they wintered in Arizona from North Dakota, and they did what they needed to do. And, they had 5 kids and 30 some grandkids and great great grandkids. And luckily my kids, well, my son met my grandma and grandpa, but he was super little. Um, but my daughter remembers some stuff with them, and they got to see, they lived a very fulfilling life, and got to see their great grandkids and lived a very comfortable life. But on
Yeah.
paper, people would be like, "Oh, you didn't have the big house, you didn't have the big car, you're not a pinnacle of success." It's like he was debt free with a pile of cash and a ton of assets. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Sometimes debt free, pile of cash, and a lot of assets isn't success either.
yeah,
Like a lot of those guys, they get there and they're like, I don't want any of this shit. Like, I
yeah,
don't even want the stuff that I have. Like, I want to figure out how to work this thing.
I know, and
Show me how to
that's kind
work
of
this
where I'm
thing.
at. That's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at, honestly. I thought I wanted to go to that next level and that be much bigger and just do just that anger and that fire kind of came back. And I
Yeah.
was like, what for?
Yeah.
Like that's
The
kind of like,
purpose kind of gets lost in the sauce,
it
especially
does.
after you've already experienced it. You're like, you're hopeful, like you mentioned, for the pop and the confetti of exiting your company, and then when that doesn't happen, the illusion of what that is in your head is kind of broken. You kind of lose, like, man, I thought this was going to be something that it wasn't. And I don't know what that thought was, but it wasn't this, and so that illusion is deframed for you.
Yeah, and even opening the franchise, it's like, okay, I'm gonna open 5 of each. I'm gonna do this thing. And I saw another friend of mine that owns like 15 locations of a certain thing, and I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be. But then I'm like, that just brings way more headache.
Yep.
Now I'm just like, man, how do I have less stuff? Like, how do I
Yeah.
have less moving parts? And that's kind of what prompted, closing the one franchise. It's like I can keep pounding on it, keep driving myself crazy, or I can just get back to living life and not being so stuck in that grind of achieving something that I don't even know I want to achieve.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough to actually work underneath Ed Milet with Transamerica WFG. You mentioned
Mm,
the MLM.
mm,
I didn't have a lot of success with that at all, but I did get a ton of coaching from Ed. And one of the things that he mentioned that stuck with me forever, and it's in tandem with Alex Hermosi talking about driving his Prius with 250 million in his bank account.
yeah.
And they were like, dude, I thought you were like a centimillionaire. Like, why are you driving a Prius with a broken windshield and a dent in the door? And he's like, look at my bank account, not my car.
Yeah.
Ed said something similar. He's like, man, I really thought the Ferrari was going to be that thing that I wanted to drive. And then I bought it. And then it just became another car that I park in a parking lot that gets me from A to B. He's like, that's all
Mhm.
it is. And honestly, it's not very comfortable, to be real with you.
No, it's not. And I mean, I have the nice stuff. I mean, I have a new truck. I have a runaround car. My wife drives a nice BMW. It's like we have the things, but
Yeah.
I wanted my last truck to be the one that was going to be the one that I just kept for a long time. But then I ran into electrical issues and a bunch of other stuff. So it's like, crap, now I have to get a new truck.
Yeah.
So now I got this one, and I'm like, I hope this one's going to be the one that I can drive till it's 150,000 miles, and it's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, even
it's
like
not
Jay
cheap.
Leno, Jay Leno has every car under the sun. And it's not about the cars for him.
No.
He's an enthusiast of automobiles.
Yeah.
He's an enthusiast of the mechanics and the history and the entirety of automobiles. That is like a fascination to him. It's not the car. He's got freaking fire trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got wild
Got everything.
stuff. Yeah. And so like that is another thing where you come back to purpose talking about legacy with these guys that have hundreds of millions of dollars. It's like, what now? Right, that sign that everybody reads at the top of the mountain that we talked about before. That now what? Like, what are you going to do now is very much lost in the sauce when it comes to being purpose driven.
Hmm.
So like when it comes to purpose, how do you see purpose being transmuted for you in the future, do you think?
Ooh.
Kids are out of the house, business, you're kind of like well set financially. And so like business is doing what it needs to do, but you're not necessarily time constraint anymore. How do you see purpose transmuting for you I mean, you're super young still.
Yeah.
45 is older than most, but still really young.
I want to. My goal is to ultimately be done by the time I'm 50.
What
So
does that mean?
meaning I'm not in build mode anymore.
Mm,
I'm done. We can go travel. We can do. I mean, we already do some of that, but it comes down to less. It's like, how do I finish off the last 25 years of my life or whatever? I don't even know. Yeah, I guess that'd be 25 years, give or take. Um, and enjoy that last 20, you know, or whatever it is. Um, and it comes down to me personally, it's less is more now. So it's unwinding some of these things and set myself up from a passive perspective that I don't necessarily need to worry about it at all.
That
And
seems like it could happen pretty fast though, right? Like it doesn't seem like it would take decades to get there once you exit the 5 year mark.
yeah, no, it's not going to be that. I mean, I've got goals. Um, my goal is to ultimately double my net worth in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, will I achieve it if I fall short? So what? Um, that's just a benchmark that I'm putting on myself for a level of success, but it's not doing it from I don't need to exit another company. I don't need to, go acquire something. I don't need to do all of those things. Um,
It does sound like consultation work and stepping into that field and kind of being more of like a speaker with your time is probably going to be more advantageous to your purpose once you get to that 50-year mark.
yeah, and it is right now. It's fulfilling a lot of purpose. Like I'm getting Slack messages right now from, some of the people in, but it's allowing me to again stay sharp, to evolve, to stay on top of things and not become a dinosaur in the marketing world, I guess, because I've been doing it so long. Um, and it pays some bills.
Yeah.
It's like to me that's like my comfort. Okay, all of our overheads covered. Then our investments and stuff can just grow and do we can stack and do what we need to do over here. And that's really the catapult that'll help compound things for me, and help me reach my goal. I don't need to go out and acquire, a dozen apartment buildings because, it's not the vehicle that needs to happen. I don't need to grow another company to do an 8-figure exit. I don't need to do that. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
I
think
don't
the
really have
cool
a
thing with
desire to
that,
do it.
well, yeah, because you had mentioned that the illusion was shattered for you a bit on the first exit. So, like, you probably don't want to experience that again, have that same identity shocker, right? The same kind of concept of like building something for 5 to 10 years and then having to step away from it entirely as a person. Um, the cool thing I like about that question that I ask most of the people that I'm having these conversations with is like we all come back to that community. We all come
Mhm.
back to that base camp or that fall summit, and it really that's where we set up shop. You get these big houses and you're in 10,000, 15,000, 40,000 square feet out, and then you step back and unwind it back to like that comfortable living room that you grew up in, maybe, that
Yeah.
that comfort home, that feeling of nostalgia, having people around for the holidays. Like that's the thing that I'm like starting to notice with people of 100 million billionaire level is like everybody steps back to health, religion, spirituality, community. Like those
Well, it's
become
funny you say
huge
that. It's
things.
I've had a huge pull back to faith recently,
Hmm.
and I've gotten away from it for so long. I consider myself a Christian, but I grew up, Lutheran, going to church, Bible camp, baptized, did all the things, Sunday school, all the things, but I got away from it as an adult. And all these signs are pointing back to that. It's like almost like I'm searching for that level of peace
Yeah.
and comfort and not so, it is that place of comfort and kind of that place of
Hmm.
aspect that comes with it.
Well, it could be answers and clarity as well.
Yeah.
Religion provides a lot of that clarity, especially when it comes to the unknown. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel a little lost on your journey and you feel like the unknown needs to be shown, oftentimes we step into spirituality or religion in order to examine that kind of part of our soul and seek some of those answers. Myron Golden, are you familiar with
Mm-hmm.
him at all?
Yep.
He mentioned kind of similar story that he had was exactly what your story is here. Is he was not necessarily same story, but he was unfortunately a trash man, hurt, financially impoverished, grew up impoverished, didn't have a lot of money growing up, and then stepped into business and now is examining that religion and faith that he has through training with the Bible in sales and psychology of that and leading people and growing people inside of your business and things of that nature. So it's something that, I think it's kind of that stepping stone almost.
Yeah, and it's funny you say you go back to the simplicity and talking about that. It's like the place of comfort. I have a friend here locally. He manages a $500 million family fund, basically a family office, this huge thing that he started. He's worth personally 70, 80 million. Um, I think he's your age. Um, and
Damn.
he recently got divorced. He has three little boys. They moved out of the 8,000 square foot mansion. He's into a 2 bedroom apartment essentially now. He drives, you wouldn't even know him. Like, you wouldn't even realize he's successful. Like, if you saw him, he's just this kind of buff dude that just looks like a normal everyday, just kind of just an average dude. And I had lunch with him not long ago, and he's just like, I mean, he drives like an entry level GMC truck. Like, it's nothing fancy at all. He's like, I had the nice car. I had this. And I'm like, what the hell's the point? And he said, I have all the same amenities at this apartment that I did at my 8,000 square foot home without all the headache.
Hmm.
And, he's friends with billionaires and, just all of these things. He doesn't care. He's not,
Well,
he's not flaunting the Rolex. He's not doing all of those things. And
sometimes
it's,
it's hard to be that character after somebody's wanted you to be that character for so long,
yeah,
right? Where it's like if you've had the experience, you understand that some of those supercars are not very comfortable to begin with, but also you have to worry about dinging them up. You got to worry about the paint. You got to worry about somebody breaking your shit or like
yeah.
flattening your tires or whatever.
I got a
You
friend
got,
that has a Lamborghini here in town, and he literally goes, I almost wish I didn't buy it.
yeah.
He said, I wanted the feeling of it, but he said I didn't want the attention that it drew.
Same thing with luxury things like Louis Vuitton and Rolex and all those stuff. You can't wear that shit in the UK. You'll get stabbed.
Yeah,
You'll get stabbed literally on the streets and they will take your stuff. And it could be fake. Like you could
yeah,
be wearing a
doesn't
fake
matter.
Rolex and they'll still stab you.
Yeah, and I mean, he literally said it. I'll go park it at valet at a restaurant, and he said I'll come out and there'll be people sitting on the hood taking pictures.
Yep.
And it's like he said I didn't
And
want that.
that and now you got to deal with people on your hood taking pictures and you got to get into a confrontation after a nice dinner and you got sleepy belly and you don't want
And
to get into confrontation
it's like,
and
well, what do you do for a living? It's like
right.
you have those
Can we take pictures
conversations.
with you? Can we have a signature? Who are you?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Who
Like
are you? Are you famous?
yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because like you have those conversations with the people who are, not necessarily on their deathbed, but Kyrie and I, we've interviewed people that are much older who have wealth, like one of the ladies I took care of, she was Howard Hughes' assistant.
Yeah,
Like she was one of his direct assistants and she was not a nice lady, but she was worth a couple $100 million, had her own private jet, absolutely miserable,
yeah,
absolutely alone. Nobody comes into her room except me. When I do go into her room, she's sort of nice to me, but for everybody else, she's an absolute terrible person too. I'm glad he has tons of assistants because they won't know who I'm talking about. But this lady, unfortunately, she has it all. She has all the jewels, she has all of the everything. She can buy 10 of it. And she just sits in her room, watches the news, and complains about politics all day. Her kids never visit her. No
yeah.
family members ever show up for the holidays. She visits grandkids every now and again. They come by every now and again. They'll visit from out of state. And she has hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's like, a lot of these elevated elite conversations, it's like, yes, I want to motivate people from Basecamp to go and try. Because I
Mhm.
do believe that trying is better than not trying. I think that at least you can obtain you can not obtain, but you can create a mile marker in your life throughout the years of things that you actually attempted to do, and you can look back on that at the end of your life. That is probably better from my experience working with these older people. That is probably a better existence than just existing inside of somebody else's reality.
Yeah. And that's going back to legacy too, is I don't want to be known to be that miserable person.
Hmm.
I just that to me scares me more than anything.
That scares everybody at that age, bro.
Yeah.
Especially these people that unfortunately, like you mentioned earlier, like you can't have conversations about your exit with your wife. Usually she's not going to get it. Like she's busy raising the kids and taking care of the house and like doing her own thing inside of the business, even if it happens to be within the same business.
Yeah.
She doesn't know your perspective and she has a completely different perspective what that felt like than you do.
Oh,
And so
100%.
like a lot of these roofers, I work with a lot of roofers and they can't have conversations with their spouse or their family because it's such a high level business. It's like you're ordering materials and you're dealing with customers and employees and this and that and the other. And it's hard to have that conversation because they just don't get it.
They don't get it, but you don't want to burden them with it
Yeah.
at the
Hmm.
same time because those stresses are just there. And then if
Yeah.
you're trying to explain how you're feeling about it, it makes it even harder.
Well, sometimes it's hard to put it into words too. They're like, how are you feeling? And it's just like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I don't even know how to explain it,
Yeah.
man.
And
Like
it
it's
just
just,
comes down
oh,
to it just comes down to fine. Like at the end of the day,
yeah,
it's the
fine.
joke
Yeah.
of, man, like how you doing? Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So to wrap this all up, kind of put a bow on it, as far as optimizing for converting in life, if you're looking back after 80 years, which it sounds like you're going to clock out about 75-ish. Sorry about that.
we'll see. I don't know. My metabolic age is 33, so
Yeah, you're
so
like 25 years. I'm like, dude, you're gonna live to like 150 minimum.
I don't know.
I think, not sidebar, but I think we will elect to die in the future, probably. I think that's coming soon. And I don't think you're gonna have very much money to do that.
No.
I think we'll probably be immortal, unfortunately. But anyway, if you had to put a bow on it and optimize for converting on just life in general, being a parent, being a spouse, your health, being able to check yourself and reflect and have that self-awareness to bring yourself back to base camp if you need to and keep climbing once you do kind of have that come to Jesus moment. If you had to optimize for life and you were looking back on life and you had to give maybe three pieces of optimization, where do you think you optimize the best and how do you see yourself optimizing better?
Um, to me, it's try to be present in the journey and enjoy it, whether it sucks or not, because there is a learning, and not to be cliche with that either, but there is a learning opportunity with some of those things that happen, um, that can carry you forward, but nobody can take away your experience. So me and as entrepreneurs, we're always future pacing everything. We do projections and we do pro
Hmm.
formas and we do all of these things and we set our goals but being present in the journey and just working through the progress over perfection, like I mentioned before. Um, you mentioned Ed Milet, he's got his philosophy of just one more, and that's really it. It's just one more day, just one more
Hmm.
rep, just one more step, just one more whatever, whatever that looks like. Um, and it can apply to every aspect of life. It doesn't have to be business and success and that piece. And I hate that I keep coming back to the business and success aspect of it because that's just the vehicle that gets us where we need to be. And if we want that, and it's not for everybody, not everybody is. And if you're listening to this and you think that, oh, I need to start a business and I need to do all of these things, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you being a great employee and
Hmm.
climbing the corporate ladder or doing whatever it is that you want to be and being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a podcast with a friend of mine who works for Raytheon, and he makes
Mhm.
about 300 grand a year and graduated when I did. Him and
Yeah.
his wife bring in a good 500,000 a year just working for Raytheon.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, like you said, the people making 60 grand. There's the people that are living out their passion working with horses or, they're, whatever,
Yep.
whatever that might be. If it makes you happy, do it. And I think so many of us as entrepreneurs skip that part
Mm.
because that come up generally doesn't make you happy. Um, so yeah, that come up doesn't necessarily make you happy in that journey. Um, so embrace the journey. And I come to many of you from the future. I mean, I started when I was 21 years old and thought I needed all of those things, and I didn't have the first clue. And I've fallen on my face more times than I care to admit. And I'm definitely learning this as we go. Um, but it is that journey. It's not the destination. And as cliche as that sounds, and all self-help books and everything in there, but it's hard to stay grounded and present and not think that there's something better or more or bigger, or because it's not going to make you happy. And I've met friends at the highest of highest levels. You know, I've literally got a friend that I'm having lunch with next week that he ran a hedge fund, and he was, uber successful. He's like a month younger than me. Sold it all and went into fitness. Like, sold it all. And then, like, now he literally just bought a Toyota Tacoma the other day because he needed a truck. But he's like, I don't want another vehicle. Like, he's like, this
Yeah.
is stupid. He rides his Harley most of the time. He lives right up the street from me, and not even know, it's not even in a fancy neighborhood. Like, it's, but the guy, is successful, and has been um, in all levels that he's been. But now, like, he literally made the joke one day. He was in there fixing something in one of his fitness studios, and somebody said, "Oh, hey, I guess the maintenance guy is here doing whatever." Like, they pointed to him up on the ladder. It's like, no, he owns like 15 of them. Like, he's like, I'm glad people don't know that I'm the guy,
Yeah.
that owns it, and I'm in here with the tool belt on, and I'm having fun, and I'm doing um, those things. And he is now embracing the journey, whereas he had the big success in the hedge fund, and he was the super stressful and the being sued every other day because he was just this high profile target, and he had two attorney firms on retainer. And like, he's like, I had the Range Rovers and the Ferraris and all of the things, and he's like, and none of it mattered. Like,
Well, the crazy thing about that, not to cut you off,
no,
but
you're good.
you talk to these guys and there's only so much you can buy. There's only so much money you can obtain that will give you access to everything in life. And the more money you make, the more free shit people want to give you because they want exposure to you and your community and the people that They try to want to sell you things. So they're going to give you things for free. And the crazy thing is that you don't want any of that at the end of the day because then it just becomes stuff in your house. It just
It
becomes
does.
clutter.
Yeah, and I'm like at the point now where I'm like, God, I just want to get rid of a lot of these things.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
man. It's funny because it's funny in the sense of like almost like a comedy drama, like almost like a Shakespearean drama where it's like the guy that strives to climb to the top of the mountain, unfortunately, the top of the mountain's not good enough.
no,
Now where do you go? Well, now you're gonna get a hot air balloon and you're gonna take it to the sky. Now you got Elon Musk and Richard Branson building spaceships to get to Mars, so
yeah, it's like you just literally, and somebody posted on social media, on Facebook the other day about that. Hell, it might even been in you, but it's um, it is
broke is
that.
better.
What?
The broke is better.
No, it's just it's that accumulation piece of it, and it's the wealthy. They really oh, it was Moda. Do you know him?
Oh yeah, yeah. That but
Yeah, but
yeah.
he posted something about it, that it's like, at a certain level everything's free,
Yeah, it literally is.
because it's like, okay, I've got the country club membership, I've got all of these things. It's like, but it's like $100 to somebody that makes 1 million is nothing, but somebody who makes 100 million buying the Pagani, buying the whatever, is just like, eh. Like you said,
Yeah,
Jeff
it's
Bezos
it's
got his yacht. It's like, to him, it's like a fraction.
yeah,
Like,
it's
it's
inquantifiable to the average person because you think money is a thing that is the same thing as when you're broke. It's
yes,
not. It's
no,
like it's completely different. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a whole different conversation, but you get free stuff. Like it literally you walk into any restaurant and you don't think about it because it's like dropping $5, even though it is $1,000. It's it's not on that same scale. It's a different scale. And
yeah, it
people
is.
don't think about things in scales.
And I like to the fact that it's okay, if we want to go out to eat, we can go out to eat. And I'm not looking at the price tags. I don't care what the bill is. Half
Right.
the time, I don't even look at what the total is. I just like, okay, whatever the tip is on there, like, let's go.
Hmm.
Sometimes I don't even look at the bill before I hand them the credit card. It's just like, I'm here, I did it, I ate, I have to lie in whatever bed that I made.
Yeah. And oftentimes you'll get there and you'll experience it and you'll be like, damn, I kind of don't want to go back there. Like it was really
Yeah,
just a hype. I
yeah,
teach a lot of guys that actually like go sit in the car. go feel it, drive it, rent it. Like you can get on Turo and rent the car, like rent it for the week. I promise you're not going to like it.
No.
And the funny thing is like oftentimes those cars break down. And now you look like an idiot because your car's broke down and you have nobody to come help you because they don't work on supercars.
I had a friend that has a McLaren, and he's like, that is the biggest pile of shit I've ever bought in my life. He said that thing spends more time in the shop than absolutely anything. I have a neighbor in the back of our neighborhood. We have like 110 homes in the neighborhood, so it's very like tight knit kind of community. He trades cars. Like
Hmm.
he just flips them all the time. And he had a McLaren and he backed it out of his garage and it dumped a bunch of fluid like all over his driveway. And he's like, seriously, like he just it was all these things. I'm like, yeah, my truck's not going to do that.
That's what happens though. Like I saw this guy in Vegas. He was at the Venetian. He was parked right in the front with his Ferrari, beautiful blue, yellow, freaking
Yeah.
calipers, just gorgeous Ferrari. And it wouldn't stop beeping because it was just like stuck in this like mode that the security alarm just kept going off in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And the car wouldn't start. He couldn't get it to move.
Yeah.
And so he had to wait on a specialist to come and like help him. And he was there for hours. Like I got there and he was there and I left and he was still there.
Yeah. Got a friend. He took me to the airport in California in his Ferrari one time. And I'm like, how many electrical issues have you had with this car? And he's like, I've stranded
Too
me four
many.
times.
Too many to count. Yeah.
It's like he stranded me four times in less than a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. I
And
had a friend, his window just stopped working. He wouldn't
yeah,
roll up or down. He just stopped,
yeah,
you
and they're
know, and then
uncomfortable. They
that's,
rattle. I mean, we can get into that conversation all day long, but it's
yeah.
the same thing. Like the Rolex tells the time the same way as the Apple Watch does.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah. And honestly, like if you're wearing that Rolex to impress somebody, buy the fake one. I'm always a huge advocate for purchasing like replica watches because it's the same thing. They're one of one replicas. It's the same. It's not gold, but you're not going to wear a gold watch in public. You're going to put that one in the safe.
yeah.
So buy the replica, wear it, and get to know how it feels to wear that watch. And that's what it is. That's literally the experience entirely. The only difference is you didn't go to Rolex and get floated around the store because you're buying a
I won
$30,000
mine.
watch. Yeah.
I won mine.
But a lot of guys, the pinnacle of success is going into Rolex, shutting down the store, and now it's your store and you're buying your Yacht Master or whatever. And it's like that's your pinnacle of success. And then you do it, and then you're like, I can't even brag to anybody about it because they don't even know what that means. They don't even know what that
No,
experience is like.
and they don't tell time worth a damn either.
They really don't. You got to keep that thing wound up. You got to
You
put it in a
do.
watch
It's like in my
finder.
winder now. It's like, I
Yeah.
got several in the winder, but not Rolexes, but different types. But
Right.
it's like I don't even like my wrist is naked. Like I don't
Yeah.
even wear a watch half the time.
And
You
there
know,
are some experiences where you have to have a little bit of cash to actually get into parties, or you have to get
you
into
do.
the event, or you have to meet certain people like Ray Dalio. You have to have a certain network to even have a conversation with him. But you're only seven handshakes away from meeting him if you happen to
Mhm.
know the people that know him and you happen to
Yeah.
be a good person. You don't have to have
And
$40
again,
million to have that conversation.
and what's that going to do? Like, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I have another friend too that he goes to the same gym as me. He sold a behavioral health like suite of companies. Like the dude, he's got way more money than I got. Um, he literally said to me, he's like, "Is another million really going to make a difference?" Like
Yeah.
that's literally what he said, and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders at me. He's like, "It's not going to make a difference."
Yeah, you gotta jump levels in order to get to that next thing, right? Where it's like a billionaire level is a lot different than a 100 millionaire level. But in order to jump that level, you have to be pretty committed to that jump. You have to be
Mhm.
willing to sacrifice something to make that jump. And it's sometimes the sacrifice isn't really worth it, from what I
No,
understand.
no, and I mean, you hear conversations even with Musk. Like he has those conversations, and he's absolutely batshit crazy.
And he's adamant about you don't want to be him.
No, you don't. And he says it like this journey, you don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
Like he didn't set out to be the richest man in the world. Like he just extend like I'm going to do some crazy stuff and let's see what happens.
And the result is that, yeah.
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 And he's just
Well,
like he does things totally unfathomable to most people. Um, but the story is it's whatever that success is for you. And it doesn't have to be, and I encourage people listening to this. Don't look at social media and think that is it.
yep.
Because everybody is still putting their pants on the same way. everybody's tired, everybody's going through something. The climb in the journey is the most important piece, because before you know it, you're only going to have 3 to 5 years left with your kids in the house.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. And I look back, it's like, okay, I did experience that and I don't feel bad about it. Are there points where I regret? Sure. But
Mhm.
for the most part, I think I've done a pretty good job in that journey.
Yeah, I agree, man. I really value you as a friend and a mentor, and I really look forward to hanging out with you one day. I
Yeah,
appreciate you for
likewise.
being on this call, man.
No problem.
I think the conversations like this are important to have, especially in this world of materialism and capitalism, where people feel like they have to obtain this like insurmountable amount of wealth to feel validated as a person, right?
Yeah.
You have to obtain a certain thing before men respect you, and that's not the case. Your character is what it comes down to. And if I had to give my 2 cents for whatever it's worth here at 31 years old, um, it comes down to three C's. It comes down to community, collaboration, and creation for me.
Mhm.
Those are the things that don't make me happy. They bring me joy.
Yeah.
I think happiness is fleeting, but joy is one of those things where even as a parent, I don't enjoy being a parent all the time. I
No.
don't enjoy being a spouse all the time. I don't enjoy being a person sometimes.
No.
And I still get joy out of it because it is the process. It's the journey. Like you mentioned, being present in that. I find gratitude and give grace in being able to experience the hard times and the good times. And that is really what has caused me to have a joyous life, I believe. I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed my life. I've had a very easy life, fortunately, for the most part. But I'm not a millionaire.
Yeah.
I have not obtained that millionaire status yet, but I do think I will enjoy life more once I'm able to help people also enjoy life once I am a millionaire. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's times where I sit down with people that, you know, are maybe going paycheck to paycheck, or they're, we're out in an event or we're out something, and I'll flip the bill for, dinner or something like that. And, that to me is just like something, it doesn't, I'm not doing it out of like charity
Yeah.
by any means. It's just like, that's just something I do.
Yeah. It's something you enjoy,
Yeah. It's like, okay, we just had this
paying.
community of 10 people sitting at the table, all laughing, all having fun, having great conversation. The least I could do is pay for dinner.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
it's,
giving gratitude for community. You're giving grace because you have the people that you wanted to be around and they're healthy enough to be there with you. The least you can do is expend some resources to make that happen again.
yeah, I mean, just the little things. Like
Hmm.
my sister just moved here to be near me. I haven't lived in the same state as my sister for 25 years. And since we lived together when she graduated high school, now she lives 3 miles from me. Yesterday, a couple days ago, she's like, "Hey, can you help me go to Costco and pick out a new TV?" Her husband's not here yet. He's still moving back and forth. But I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I went in and I helped her pick out the TV, loaded it in my truck. We took it to her house. I helped mount it. I helped do all those things. It was like an hour that I got to spend with my sister.
Hmm.
It just
And that's
doesn't
that's so
happen.
it's so beneficial for your spirit.
Yeah.
Even if it's not religion, that community benefit is such a huge, I would say like a deposit. It's a deposit into your spirit when you're able to do things like that for others, especially if they can't do it for themselves.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I was very grateful for, was taking care of older people who just couldn't do it for themselves. That was a huge asset for my personal karma.
Well, and those conversations,
Yeah.
you can't, money can't buy those conversations.
Mm-mm.
And that's why I go back even to my like sitting down one on one with my grandma. You know, there's a lot of days where I wish I could just have one more day, to sit down and have those conversations with her.
Yeah.
Because there were,
I got to
it's
tell
like,
you, it didn't pay either. I got to tell you,
yeah,
being a CNA caretaker does not pay jack shit.
no, it doesn't.
So yeah, and that's the thing I am grateful for, was there was a lot that you had to like, we talked about it earlier, like looking through the perspective of glass half full as opposed to half empty. Was I'm not getting paid a lot. I am working super hard. I am walking around this damn place for miles, and I'm not given any grace or gratitude or any attaboy at all. So I
Oh no,
have
yeah.
to find something that is worth being here. Like I have to find something. And that was the people.
And that's a big thing too, is I think people, that's why I say embrace the journey and not the destination, is people think that destination is going to have the attaboy or the pat
Mm,
on the back or that good job, that thing, and that doesn't come. So you have to embrace it. And I use this kind of story too is, and it's kind of hard to say, but I didn't feel like I was successful in the eyes of my, like, even my dad,
Mm.
until I became a best-selling author. And I heard, literally, I was 35 years old, and I heard, "I'm proud of you," for the first time
Wow.
in my adult life.
Yeah,
And
that's
I've heard it
huge.
many times since then, but it took me, it didn't matter all of my successes. And it wasn't even financial. Like, I didn't get rich
Right.
being an author. Like, it, it was, it was like, okay, now I've achieved something that got his attention.
Mm.
And it wasn't even that big of a milestone. I mean,
Right.
I can, with AI now, I can write a book next week. You know,
I did. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I wrote mine. This is the cover of my book behind me, but um, I wrote it. It took me a year. Like, I
Yeah.
wrote it, and in that kind of level, and that's that destination, there isn't anybody. It is literally just push send, wire sent. Like,
Yeah.
that's the climax of it. And
That's your next book right there, bud.
yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know if
That's
that's
that's a that's a title right there. I like that title.
yeah, maybe. Um,
Push send, wire sent, man. That's freaking the anticlimactic exit.
yeah. But yeah, it is. It's the journey. It's not the destination. And I'm still learning, and I
Yeah.
really am. And it's conversations like this too that help me, and that's why I say yes to things like this. And
Hmm.
I didn't even,
Collaboration, baby.
and
That's
even
one of
when
the
I was
C's.
growing the company, people were like, "You want to be on my podcast?" It's like, it's brand new, but you want to be on my podcast? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Do you want to come speak at our event? Like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, oh, it's only
Heck
going to be
yeah.
10 people in the room. Yep, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I like to look at it as like, if you were asked to be on Joe Rogan's podcast, would you say yes? Probably. If you were asked to be on their episode one, would you have done it? Ah.
Probably. I
You
mean, just
probably would
me,
have.
me
Most
personally,
people
yeah.
wouldn't.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot. There's a few people even that we're probably mutually connected to on social. They're pinnacle of success now. But like, I was on episode 10 of their
Yep.
podcast, and they've got like 3,000 episodes now. And
Exactly.
they
It's
feel like,
collaboration, man. That's important. That's what I've always thought is like competition just makes you raise your cortisol levels. Like
yeah,
that just causes you to have stress, honestly. Like if you collaborate with people and give feedback and even sometimes like you may collaborate with somebody and they just don't jive well with you, you
yeah.
can always
So what?
exit and remove yourself
But you learn
and
something.
you still did it.
You learn something. And
Yeah.
I learned, obviously, back when I was an employee from my dad and stuff. He's like, do not burn bridges.
Hmm.
Just don't.
That's a great piece of advice.
Because you just never know when it's going to come
Yeah.
full circle, or you have to pick up that phone and call that person.
Well, you don't even really know like who they are either. Like you don't
No.
know what their reach is. They could be like connected to the royal family, and all of a sudden you're freaking blacklisted from everything.
Yeah. And you
you know?
don't. And I've burned very few bridges in my career. I probably can name two. They were warranted. It's like, actually, I can name two. One was actually this last year, but it was warranted.
Right.
Um, and my
I
life was,
don't think that's not necessary. I do believe that sometimes you do have to burn bridges.
yeah. And you do. And I don't try to, but this one particularly, because it's fresh,
Hmm.
I, I'm still partially connected to that person. But I haven't talked to him since June,
It's
you know,
tough.
in our
Yeah.
falling out. And it's on purpose. And it's somebody that I thought was like a really good friend.
Yeah. I've had those where, we got in business together and they say not to get into business with your friends. And then all of a sudden that friendship turns sour and then the business turns sour and then you lose that friend altogether. And
Yeah.
it's tough, but sometimes you have to grow from that relationship as well. Tony Robbins, he talks about plucking weeds from your garden
Mhm.
and not letting those weeds become invasive. They will take over your garden. They will replicate. They will go and actually cause the other flowers to die.
Yeah.
And you have to
Cut
be able
cut
to
your
protect it.
losses. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's the rotten orange sitting next to the rotten orange. It's going to
exactly.
translate. So
Community.
it is. I mean, it is really.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just leave people with that is, just progress over perfection, embrace that journey, whatever that destination is for you. And don't think it needs to be that, oh, if I'm just a millionaire, I'll be happy. Or, if I can just do this, I'm going to be happy.
Right.
What if it's like more so, and you've heard like the be have do like scenario where,
Hmm.
but what if it's like do be have? Like
Mm,
it's the opposite of that, where it's like, okay, I can just do it. And then because of that, I'll ultimately have, and it, it's more so thinking that I need something in order to be happy or successful.
yep.
And I'm struggling with this personally right now. It's finding that place of center and that place of joy that's eluded me for the last few years.
Mm,
Where it's I have everything in the world to be grateful for. But sometimes we get those own mental blocks where we're trying to find it. And, you know, there's a point where enough is enough. And like you said, if there's guys that don't have a lot that are the happiest people on the planet
yeah.
because they have more than most, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
in ways that isn't monetary. And that was the hardest part for me. It's like, if I only did this, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be done, or I'll be successful, or I'll be this. And now I'm working more towards going backwards.
Yep.
In a sense, it's like I want less. Less is more.
Yeah.
Um, and hopefully I'll achieve that. But until then, I'm just embracing it one day at a time, and we'll take it from there.
And I think that's all we can do, man. I think it's important to have a community of men like, we have right now inside of Elevate Elite, and being able to reach out to people that are climbing those similar climbs. The journey may not be similar, but the climb is very similar. The climb of the exhaustion, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, like that is very similar. And it doesn't matter what the industry is. But I'm very grateful to have people like you around that have that self-awareness and clarity to like still want to collaborate, still want to create, still want to have community. And even though you're going through a hard time, I do believe that if anybody was to make it through that mental exhaustion of what you're personally experiencing right now, it's you. Like that's you've kind of shown that in your health and your wealth and your family and being a father and navigating that over the course of the last 13, 15 years. That is something to look up to, and I'm grateful for people like you around me. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that, because everybody's different. Everybody's got those journeys. Everybody's got those things that and if you can't reach out to other people, and not everybody's going to understand exactly where you are, um, but there's somebody that might have a similar story, and they don't have to be at the same level as you, whatever that might be financially. They don't have to be. Everybody's got knowledge that you can learn from.
well, that, and also like I realize for myself, like when I'm climbing, I'm at such a low level, it like feels super exhausting and burdenful. But like then I look up and I see you guys, and you guys are like that. You're starting, like keep going, bud.
Mm-hmm.
you know, so it's very humbling in that experience, to be able to like have these conversations and to let people know at base camp that like it's not that treacherous. There are people on the mountain that are willing to help. There's been many, many people that have crossed these obstacles, and you're just getting barely to those obstacles. So keep going, you know?
Well, this puts it into perspective. My successful company that I exited, I was older than you when I started it.
Mm, that does put a lot in perspective.
So I
Yeah.
was 34 when I started that company.
Wow.
We literally threw $1,500 into a bank account and started the company. $750 a piece.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I oftentimes put things on a timeline on a scale, and oftentimes compare myself to my older, much older, less handsome brother. And basically, like, think about I have 9 years on him. I think actually almost 10 years, based on like him being 40 years old, who's like successfully retired from the military, Green Beret, like very, very hyper successful, in all endeavors, family, personal
Mm-hmm.
life. Like he is very much the GI Joe that everybody hopes to be when they join the military.
Yep.
He is that. Like he's the most decorated diver. He's been West Point professor, graduate. Like he's the guy. But when I look into the perspective of that decade, that's so much time to catch up to somebody like that, that it really does humble me but excite me that people like yourself start at 34 and still had success. People usually don't become millionaires until they're about 50, 55 years old anyway. So like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these guys that are under 30 years old that are multi-millionaires, like you mentioned with your buddy that's worth 80 million bucks, that's about my age. That's just not common. It's
No,
one out of a million people, maybe,
but he
you
started
know.
when he was 17 years old on this
There you
journey,
go. Yeah.
so he's had that, over a decade.
Yep. So I love that perspective, man. Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah,
me. Thanks for being on the podcast.
no
I hope
problem. Thanks for
everybody
having me.
got a lot out of this, man, like a lot of golden nuggets. And so I don't know if you want people to reach out to you for consultation work or anything like that,
I mean,
probably.
I'm always available. I mean,
Okay.
I don't have a website. I don't have any like stuff anymore, but I mean, I'm on
That's kind of what I
socials.
assume. Yeah.
Uh, I'm on
Um,
social, and if people want to reach out, they can. I'm obviously in the group. Um, and people have questions, comments, whatever, or if they, want advice, I'm here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not hidden.
Well, Justin, I appreciate, man. Thank you guys for coming to Elevate Elite's Basecamp podcast. This has been episode 3. And so I look forward to having another one with you in the future.
All right.
Talk to you soon, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.